They say that not every open door is your door. Some doors, if you force your way inside, they will jam your fingers. This is the story of a young woman who chased UK nurse life, but met handcuffs before she even saw London Bridge. In the ever-busy streets of Port Harcourt, where generator noise competes with ambition, lived a girl named Blessing. Every morning, she woke up to heat, traffic, and pressure. But every night, she escaped to Instagram. Instagram had become her second village. Ever since she was a little child, she had always wanted to be a nurse. But we know that in life, things don't always go as planned. When that dream failed, she started to watch those who had succeeded. On social media, Blessing followed every popular abroad nurse. She didn't bother about the nurses in her city. Those ones were underpaid, always stressed out, and they didn't have doings. Nurses abroad smiled like life had no problems. They had clean uniforms, foreign accents, pounds in captions. Blessing didn't just admire them. She studied them like one would do for an exam. She would zoom their pictures like she was looking for hidden secrets. Sometimes she would even whisper, "So this is how people are enjoying life and living without stress abroad." With time, she started to feed a fantasy that only existed in her mind. She would do everything possible to relocate to the UK. But what Blessing didn't know was this. The UK she was dreaming of was already preparing a welcome package, and it was not what she ordered. Some people lie small, but Blessing started to lie with full HD confidence. She updated her profile to Nurse Blessing. Not officially anything, but confidently everything. Her DP was scrubs she borrowed. Her captions were confidence she didn't have. The worst part, people believed her. On one of her posts, someone commented, "God has finally done it for you." And Blessing replied, "Yes, so God is faithful." Meanwhile, reality was sitting quietly in one corner, shaking its head like a disappointed lecturer. Blessing had left nursing school like someone escaping night vigil. No announcements, no goodbyes. She had failed her exams twice, but instead of rewriting them, she took her bags and left. Her friend Chioma did not leave. She struggled and passed. Then one day, Chioma posted, "UK nurse." So people are really going. Deep inside her, something had already shifted. And just when her fake life was getting endorsements, WhatsApp brought her a deal that looked like a miracle, but smelled like trouble. If something is labeled "no stress," just know that stress is hiding inside. Blessing's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. The text said, "UK nursing job, no IELTS, no stress." Blessing sat up like NEPA had just brought light. No IELTS? That exam that gives people sleepless nights? The agent introduced himself as Mr. Collins. They started to talk, but the worst part is that he never asked if she was fully registered, and she never clarified anything either. He said that the opportunity was a registered nurse pathway that started through care assistant sponsorship. After arrival, she would be able to complete her registration in the UK. That line changed everything in her head. So she wasn't faking anything. She was entering through a system that would upgrade her later. The destination was guaranteed. She would eventually work as a nurse in a UK hospital with proper registration. So the question in her mind wasn't, "Is this real?" It was, "So I will still become Nurse Blessing officially, just that I will enter through another route." Mr. Collins continued to build castles in thin air. He sent more texts saying, "Once you arrive, you will be placed in a care facility under supervision. From there, progression into nursing registration is very easy. This is how many candidates enter. It's faster, cleaner, and fully recognized. And just like that, confusion became confidence. Not because everything was clear, but because it finally sounded like a plan. The man mentioned the price, but Blessing didn't know she was about to invest in her own embarrassment. 6.5 million naira to Japa. Sounds like a good deal until reality starts sending emails. According to the agent, this money contained fees for sponsorship processing, visa application, flight tickets, and every other thing she would need. It sounded like Jumia Black Friday for Destiny. Blessing didn't have the money, but determination does not like limitations. She borrowed from friends, collected from family, and even blackmailed an ex. Whatever it would take to be on that plane, she was ready to do it. Within a few weeks, she paid the money and the real process began. Mr. Collins sent updates frequently. He informed her that he had arranged her documents and submitted her applications. She was just to wait for her biometrics appointment. Biometrics. Blessing repeated it like a prayer. So even my fingers are now part of destiny. Shortly after, she went for the biometrics appointment. And then came the waiting period. Not dramatic waiting, just silently waiting and checking her phone like it owed her money. One evening, a notification dropped. Her visa had been approved. Blessing didn't scream. She just sat down, then stood up and sat down again. So this is how somebody's life can change with just one email. Her passport returned few days later, and that was when reality became loud. She received her flight tickets and started to pack so many bags as if she was going on a journey of no return. Blessing thought she was preparing for a job. Meanwhile, life was preparing an interrogation. Then came the day she was to travel. She arrived Murtala Mohammed International Airport, feeling fly. This was the day the Lord had made. She would rejoice and be glad in it. The officer flipped the pages of her passport and then looked at her. In that moment, Blessing's soul briefly left her body. "Safe journey," the officer said, returning her passport. As Blessing walked towards the boarding, she whispered to herself, "Calm down, babe. Calm down, abeg." What she didn't realize was that the real system was waiting on the other side. Inside an airplane, everybody looks successful until landing reminds you who you are. On the day Blessing traveled, she enjoyed herself. Free food, free juice. She even pressed the call button once, just to feel important. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought still lingered. What if I am celebrating too early? She brushed it off and started to plan her first post. But when the plane landed, her script would scatter like gala wrapper in Lagos wind. The UK is not your uncle's compound. Nobody will ask you if you have eaten. The plane landed and Blessing was amazed. Everything was calm, almost too serious. Nobody was shouting, "Come and buy." Blessing adjusted her blazer like a CEO and joined the queue. Confidence full ground. If you are enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Done? Thank you very much. Now let's see what happens next. The officer scanned her passport. He ran 3 checks at once. Then he said, "Step aside, please." And just like that, her confidence packed its load and left the building. When truth arrives, even your village people will keep quiet. There is an inconsistency between your declared employment history and sponsorship records, the officer declared. Blessing was dumbfounded. For the first time, she didn't have a reply. Her brain started to scramble. For a second, she thought maybe this was a misunderstanding. But it wasn't, and the next thing that happened was only something she had seen in Nollywood. Handcuffs abroad are not like what we see in movies. They are real and very cold. Ma'am, you are under arrest. Before she could say Jesus, her hands were locked like a generator house. She looked at her wrists like, this must be a very terrible dream. Unfortunately, it wasn't. What is really going on here? I just came for a nursing job. The officers didn't respond. They simply guided her away. And where they took her next was not the hospital she applied for. UK didn't give her a shift. They gave her a lot of silence. There was no phone, no Instagram, no soft life, just walls and regret. Plenty regret. At first, Blessing kept waiting for someone to explain better. Maybe a mistake, maybe a correction, maybe, sorry, you can go now. But none of that happened. At that point, she started to remember everything clearly. The agent's confidence, the way he never video called, the way everything was almost too ready. Coming back to Nigeria is not painful until you come back with shame. After 3 days, Blessing was returned back to sender. Back in Port Harcourt, the gist had already arrived before her. Not the full story, just enough to make people feel like they knew everything. Is that not our London nurse that was arrested and deported? Even people she didn't know had opinions about her life. She realized people were now discussing her life like it no longer belonged to her. Blessing kept her head down, and the worst part was not the gossip. It was how loud the silence felt inside her own mind, because now, even her own reflection felt like a question. When shame finishes with you, even your phone becomes your enemy. Blessing disappeared. No posts, no updates, no UK loading, nothing. That alone shocked people more than the story itself. At first, she thought she was hiding, but slowly, she realized that she wasn't hiding from people. She was hiding from herself. For the first time, she had no identity to perform, no captions to write, no audience. And without an audience, her thoughts started to speak louder than before. In that silence, a new version of Blessing was quietly forming. Life can disgrace you, but it can also give you a second attempt. Blessing went back to nursing school. This time, she avoided shortcuts. She struggled and studied. It was hard, very hard, but at least she was on the right path. Even failure now felt honest. And slowly, she started becoming the person she once pretended to be. 4 years later, Blessing passed, got the right documentation, and applied again. This time, nobody asked her questions she couldn't answer. She was not shaking. She was not afraid. At the airport, the officer checked her documents, looked at her and said, "Have a safe flight." She almost didn't react. This time, approval didn't feel like magic. Inside the plane, a man beside her asked her if it was her first time traveling. "No," Blessing responded, "but this time I came as myself." In life, you can scam yourself. You can even scam Instagram. But when you reach the border of reality, even Oyibo will verify your destiny.